The RS I bring you today is RS 32070. And this bill is to ensure that taxpayer dollars are not used to support teacher unions. So I will just briefly go through some of the parts here. There are exceptions to this on page 2, line 1 through 34. If there's a negotiated agreement for time off without paying for, so the district doesn't pay for their pay or their benefits, if they use personal leave, or if the union wants to reimburse the district. Pages 3 and 4 are different definitions in the part of the code that's ethics in government. Pages 5 and 6 are the penalties, and they increase with each violation. So it starts with $250, and on the third one, it's up to $2,500. Page 6 forbids the district from contracting and thus breaking the law. That's repeated on page 10 and page 12. And then LSO has some corrections that you see in there on pages 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then page 11 are different definitions in the educational code. So I would stand for questions.
Thank you, Representative Boyle. Are there questions for Representative Boyle? Seeing none. Oh, Representative Achilles.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Boyle, did any teachers or school boards work with you on this legislation?
Representative Boyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, no, this is basically a cleaned up bill from last year.
Follow up?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Representative Boyle, just doing some research on this area last night, I think there's some significant national research that shows that students perform better in schools where there's a tight relationship between the teachers union and the district and the school board. I am concerned that this would make it harder for those two groups to collaborate, with the effect that student outcomes would fall. So I think when this comes back to committee, I'd love to just get into some of that research with you and discuss that.
Okay. Any further questions? Representative Scott.
I move to introduce RS 32070.
Can we have a motion to introduce RS 32070? Is there discussion on that motion or further questions for Representative Boyle? Representative Dygert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Boyle, I'm looking at page 5 on line 1, and it talks about influencing the passage or defeat of any type of legislation.
Could you give us the line number, Representative
Yeah,
Dygert?
line 1.
Line 1, okay.
Page 5, line 1. And it, I know I've been part of professional organizations that have worked in behalf of some of those things, especially here on the state level. Would that involve professional organizations?
Representative Boyle.
Well, that is a good question, but I know we do have a prohibition already that school districts are not supposed to be using taxpayer money to sway one way or another, like for a bond, a levy, a candidate, that kind of thing. Is that what you mean?
Follow up?
Well, more in terms of, at the risk of being personal, but you and I have had the opportunity to work on some legislation before that was very beneficial for helping with CT and agriculture, and it was representing the agriculture teacher in the state, and it wasn't using any of those funds. In fact, it was on my dime. But you don't want to get those kinds of efforts caught up in this kind of legislation where they say all of a sudden now an educational professional organization is not supposed to be here providing information and working or on state legislation that would affect those kinds of things.
Representative Boyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representatives, if you will look at that again, it says any federal, this is passage or defeat, any federal or state legislation, federal or state regulation, local ordinance, or ballot measure. That doesn't mean that individually the ag teachers couldn't do exactly what they did. You just don't say we're doing this on behalf of, and you aren't being paid by a union to do that.
Any further discussion on the motion or questions for Representative Boyle? Seeing none, the motion is to introduce RS, 32070. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. It will be done.